Wilson, and you're listening to the Starting Block Podcast. Guys, this is a show for complete athletic development. We are here, our objective, our mission, we are here to help you guys win, whether you're the athlete, the parents, or the coach. If you're new to the show, welcome. Appreciate you joining. And also, I want to say thanks to the people that shared the show, because that is something we ask. Appreciate you guys sharing the show and bringing us a guest. So if you're new, appreciate you. I think you're going to enjoy this episode. If you are new, our show operates a little different than your standard podcast, actually a lot different. We actually have multiple shows within the show. So the first episode you'll get from us is our bi-weekly Q&A. That's where myself and my co-host, Chris Scarborough. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, guys.
That is where Chris and I will answer the questions you guys submit to us. Chris, where can they submit those questions?
info@startingblockpodcast.com.
info@startingblockpodcast.com. Guys, Q&A, we'll tackle everything. The performance, the recovery, the nutrition, the neuro stuff, the voodoo stuff, rehab, you name it, we'll tackle it. Keep sending your questions in. I'd say probably over the last, probably 10 episodes or so, like the sheer volume of questions that we are getting it's awesome, guys. I appreciate it, man. I'm really, truly grateful for everybody who's sharing this and being engaged. And, yeah, man, it's awesome. And we're here to help. And, we have enough questions for our Q&A to last us probably through the next 4 months, I would think. So we'll keep getting to them. But yeah, appreciate it. You can DM them. You can DM them to us, but like I said, prefer if you email it. Helps us keep it organized. Keep them coming. The other episode you'll get from us is our other bi-weekly episode. That is a guest interview. That is exactly what it sounds like, and just like every other podcast on the planet. The guest interview, we'll bring our friends, our colleagues, our coworkers in from across the country, across the globe at this point, and they will just share their stories of success, what they do with their clients, their patients, in their gyms, in their clinics and practices. And like I always say, it ultimately is somebody that you guys can network with. These are people that share the same core values and mission that we do, and that's a fact too, guys. Like, we're not going to bring people on that really don't share the same values and mission that we do. That's really important to me. I'm not just going to bring somebody on to bring them on, so hope you guys get value out of that and connect with these people if they're in your area or follow them on their social pages. We will bring our guest on here in just a second because that's what we got today. The final episode you'll get is that quarterly-ish Friday Fire episode. We just put one out a couple weeks ago, and holy shit, the feedback on that is intense. If that scared you, good. I hope it did. That was the goal. But I appreciate you guys listening to that and the massive response we've gotten from it. That's it's great, man. I appreciate it. So keep it coming. As Chris always says, sooner or later there will be something that pisses me off enough that I will do it, and maybe it becomes a little bit more than quarterly.
That's usually what it takes. It's got to be something that just pisses John off.
Yeah. So hey, I know the last episode. I know it was deep. It was deep, and I get it, but I think it's a very real concern, guys. If you haven't checked it out, I think you really should. It's about 20 minutes, and we tackle some very, very deep stuff that is really going to impact all of us here in the next couple of years. So anyways, that's your Friday Fire. And then we don't run any ads on the show. We have had plenty of opportunities to do so, but we are right now staying ad-free, and that's simply because I just believe in doing this organically at the moment, and I just ask that you guys share the show. If you got value out of it, that's all we really ask. So share your show, pay your dues. That's about it. I think we covered it all, right, Chris?
Yeah, just want to say, though, if we do happen to find, if there's a company out there that we do value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. We would welcome you.
Not that the people that have reached out to us are still listening to the show. Maybe they are. I don't know. So it's not like we don't value you. It's just, it's important that we align. That's very important to me. I'm not going to just spout out some stuff just because I'm being paid to do it. I don't know. I guess we all have our numbers, so maybe I would.
It needs to be something, right, exactly. But it needs to be something though that our listeners can get value out of. And if we feel like that's the case, yes, we might very well bring on an advertiser. So, yes, maybe one day we will have an advertiser, but for the time being, as John said, we are ad-free, and that's the way we probably will have it for a while. So
so the growth of the show is all organic, guys, and we greatly appreciate that. So keep it coming. All right, so without making you guys wait too much longer, today we're pleased to welcome on the pitching coordinator in Oxford down at the farm. I just recently met him, and he is a former player for the Cubs, right? I got that right, didn't I?
Yes, former player for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah,
yes.
Mr. Wyatt Short. Woo-hoo. Welcome to the show, bro.
What's up?
Yeah, great to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, John and Chris. I really do appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely, man. And like, Wyatt and I just recently met a couple months ago. So for those who follow ELP and know me, we opened up a location down at the farm in Oxford, and met Wyatt down there, and really liked the stuff that he's doing with some of his athletes. And I just thought this was going to be a really good opportunity for Wyatt to, share his experiences, playing D1 ball, going through the pro systems, and just how it's influenced him. And so I think, especially a lot of you younger athletes, and whether you're in baseball or not, like, I think the information Wyatt's got is going to be really valuable for you, especially if you're getting ready to go to college too. So no pressure, Wyatt, but yeah, bring it today.
I appreciate it. Well,
But yeah, man, why don't we just start? Share your story, like where you're from, kind of, playing ball, growing up, where you went to college, and let's have a conversation.
All right, let's do it. Well, the name's Wyatt Short. If you didn't know, I'm from South Haven, Mississippi. Grew up, born and raised. Went to South Haven High School. Graduated there 2013. Actually won a state title with my high school. So that
nice.
was
I didn't
cool.
realize that.
It was super cool. My senior year, shout out to those guys. Signed with Ole Miss my senior.
And like, I'm going to
year.
interrupt you. Like, that's a big deal. Like, I think most people know now at this point, but the northern Mississippi area, like, is a hotbed of baseball talent. Like, there is a ton of guys coming out of that area. So winning a state championship is nothing to just blow over like that. That's a big time accomplishment, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate that. No big deal, but I think that our class was actually kind of the start of that snowball up in that North Mississippi area.
Yeah.
Before then, I don't think there was a state championship won up there, at least in 5, 6, 7A high school baseball.
Yeah.
And then it was like us, DeSoto Central, who had like Austin Riley and all those guys, and now Lewisburg, who's got all these. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
A lot of great athletes up in North Mississippi.
Yeah, so like you brought up Austin Riley, like, for you guys, most of you people probably know who Austin is. You've got Brent Rookers and not really from North Mississippi, but if you understand the layout of where we live, like it's literally 10 minutes from us. So it's kind of in that whole Mid-South area. Brent Rooker's from the area, Wyatt's from the area. So it's just, there's more and more names. The list is very long.
Oh yeah. But sorry, I didn't mean to get off track there.
No.
No,
we shouldn't, like I always say, this is not an interview. This is a conversation, because I suck at interviewing. People tell me I interrupt too much. So it's just this conversation, bro.
Where was I?
Won a state championship.
Yeah, won the state championship.
Won a
That's what I was
state
about to say.
championship.
Yep.
Signed with Ole Miss my senior year. Kind of a dream school, honestly. SEC, all the fun stuff, it just means more, as what they say. Went there. I actually had a terrible, terrible freshman fall. Didn't think I was going to play. Didn't think I was going to start at all. Actually didn't even think I was going to be on the team come the spring. But I had a glimpse of hope we have this thing called a pizza bowl at the end of the fall, where it's like this fall World Series, one team against the next. And I was actually last pick of that fall series, even below the managers.
So Mr. Irrelevant here.
I was Mr. Irrelevant.
Like Brock
for
Purdy.
The pizza bowl.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was kind of sad. But somehow got my opportunity to pitch in that and did really well. Have an exit meeting with Coach B, Mike Bianco. And so what happened in that exit meeting was kind of what changed my entire career, to be completely honest. I went in there, sat down, and if anybody knows who Coach B is, he's a no BS kind of guy. He's, very straight to the point, very blunt. He doesn't care who you are. He's going to tell you what he thinks.
Again, like you said, this is the Ole Miss head coach, and most of our audience is national. They're not really local, national and global. So For those of you who don't, he's the Ole Miss coach. He's been there for God, how long? Why? I mean, he's been there forever
since
now.
2001.
Yeah, he's been there a long time.
His first year. So.
Ole Miss is built. I mean, they're a hell of a program, obviously, year in and year out.
Mm-hmm. He has built that program from the ground up, no doubt. But sitting there with Coach B, and first thing out of my mouth was, Coach, you didn't see the real me. You didn't see me this fall for who I really am as a pitcher, as a player, as an athlete. And what you're going to see in the spring is going to change your mind, I promise. And that just kind of shocked him. And he looked at me like, whoa, I've never had a freshman come in and, say something like that to me.
I love that.
But he went on his spiel about, yeah, you're right. You didn't show me what I expected. You didn't perform the way you should have. Yada, yada, yada. And come springtime, if you don't perform, then, well, you can go ahead and see you later. So, of course, I took that to heart going into my off season, put in a lot of extra work, threw probably a lot more than I should have, but come springtime, he said, you're going to get 3 opportunities. You got 3 opportunities to show me who you are and prove that you deserve to be on this team. So spring comes around, first opportunity to go out. I think it was 1 inning, 2 Ks, no hits, no walks, no runs, out of there. Like up and down, easy. For the first time I hit 90 that during college, which was crazy because in high school, my junior and senior year, I kind of sat 88 to 92.
So now this is actually regular season of your freshman year we're talking about, correct? Regular season.
Yes, this is inter squads going into regular season.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's 3 inter squads right before your first game. And so that means you get 3 opportunities to really make the roster. And at that time, it was a 35-man roster and a 27-man travel roster. And our first game was in Stetson, so that's in Florida. And so it was 27 guys on that were going to be on that flight.
John, sorry, Wyatt. I think John's dog is
Yeah.
got a toy.
Keep going. Yes, that's why I said, like, guys, if you're listening on audio here, like I'm giving them the hand, so like keep going. I'll be right back. Yes, Yogi has his little squeaker toy, and I cannot get it away from him. So keep going, guys. I'll be right back.
Keep on going, Wyatt. Yeah, you're good.
You're good. So 27-man roster to go on the travel. First outing, go out there, 1 inning, 2 Ks, no walks, no runs, no hits, up to 90 for the first time in like probably 8 months, like a long time. Second outing, go out there for 2 innings, 6 up, 6 down. I think I had 3 Ks, no walks, no hits. See you later, up to 92 that time. Third outing and final outing, another 2 innings, and I had 5 Ks this time. I think I was up to 94. It was really awesome. And then, of course, going into Stetson that weekend before, they post the travel roster on the bulletin board, and everybody comes in excited. At least the underclassmen. The upperclassmen not so much, because most of them know who is going to be on the roster or not. But look up there, and I'm trailing down the list. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't make it. Of course, second to last, my name pops up. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, thank you. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to play. That just means you travel. So that weekend comes up. We fly to Stetson. Chris Ellis was our Friday night guy that year. I mean, he was lights out. He was like 10-0 on the season. Granted, this was also 2014, the year that we went to the College World Series. So we were pretty stacked, I thought. But Chris Ellis was on the bump, first game, Stetson. He goes like 5 innings, doesn't give up but like 2 hits, no runs, deals. First name called out of the bullpen. Wyatt, go get loose. Huh? What?
Nice.
Me? Really?
Nice.
The guy that just did awful in the fall and only had 3 times that I, did well. Really? He's like, yep, go get loose. So go down there, stretch, whatever. Come in the game, 2 innings, 4 Ks. I think
Don't
I
say
blacked
stretch
out.
on this show. You'll
Yeah.
lose your audience real fast.
Well, it was more like nervous, frantic movement.
Right, there
There you
you
go.
go. All right, that'll work. That'll work. Yep.
Because I didn't really know what to do, and I was just trying to, stay busy. But go out there, 2 innings. Like I said, I think I blacked out. Don't remember really much of anything. Had 4 Ks. I come in, and Coach B was like, "Yeah, good job, Short. Nice job. I love that. I love that. You got some balls, kid." That's just, I don't know why I do that voice for him, but that's just how I always do. But
It works, yeah.
ever since then, I guess I just kind of solidified my spot at Ole Miss, and had a lot of good opportunities and played a lot my freshman year. I thought I did pretty well. Wound up going and, pitching in the Super Regional against ULL. Then went on and pitched in the College World Series that year, which was super, super cool. Definitely one of the best memories I could have had. Which I could get into that later. But.
Yeah. So all right. So this freshman year, you go from basically almost being, cut essentially to,
Mm-hmm.
believing in yourself, and, we're going to come back and circle back to some of that stuff because I want to hear about, how you did that, but you basically took a risk on yourself and you didn't make it. So you start up in the pen basically. When did you move into like a more prominent role? Like, were you the Friday, Saturday guy? How did that go for you? When did that kind of hit?
So what happened? So first one out of the pen, and I kind of stayed that middle relief for really until I proved myself in SEC play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our first weekend was against Mizzou at home, and I came in like the 6th or 7th and got us out of a jam. And after that, I started becoming the setup for our closer, which our closer at that time was Josh Laxer, who then was throwing mid-upper 90s and just, blazing it past people.
What's the mentality side of that like? Meaning, like, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm curious about this because, Chris, we actually had a question a couple weeks ago about just the mental component and how that influences training with somebody like a starter versus a closer. So, like,
Oh, yeah.
and so
exactly.
that's why I wanted to interrupt and ask so we didn't get off that I'd lose it otherwise. But like, you go from the closer to middle relief. How did that influence you mentally? Did it change your approach to stuff?
So I was actually a starter in high school. So I started my whole entire time in high school. And then when I got to college is when I started relieving. And I was a middle relief to start out with. I never actually closed until my sophomore year. I had a few games that I finished freshman year, but I wouldn't consider them closing roles.
Okay.
Sophomore year, it was between me and a guy named Scott Weathersby. Love him to death. Awesomest guy in the world. He really is. But he kind of took on that long relief role, and it kind of helped me slide into that closing role, which was what I stayed with for the rest of my career, up until pro ball.
Really? I didn't know that about you.
Yep.
Okay.
But the mentality side of it, as a middle relief, which is what I kind of was a lot of pro ball and the beginning of college, it was more of a mindset of I've always got to be ready. I've always got to be moving. I've always got to make sure that I'm staying loose, staying ready, staying warm. And just being able to flip the switch on, which I found out in college that I could do. So, and not everybody can do that. I don't think, at least I've met guys that it's like either they're locked in the whole entire day, or like they can't find themselves at all, and then you got guys that can just flip it on, flip it off. And I felt like that was kind of my role, because in the game, and guys that played with me will tell you, when I was on the mound, it was like, that's a different person out there. Like, it's a different animal, different beast. Like, he is somebody different when he's on the mound. But the minute I get back in the dugout, it's like laughing, messing around, always joking, trying to put a smile on my face, trying to be high energy kind of person.
So you said you
But
found that. Like, how did you develop that? Like,
I don't
because
know if it
I've
was
always
more.
felt some people have it or they don't have it.
I think it was. I think I always had it. Like I've always, like what we always called it was either you're a gamer or you're a practicer, right? Like you're a BP All-Star or you're an absolute gamer when it comes to, live stuff. And I was always the gamer. Like in practice, I didn't do great. Like it wasn't that I wasn't good. It was just that I guess it was a lack of focus. But the minute the lights turned on, I flipped a switch and I don't know. I just played better.
And this was true even. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Even growing up, yes. Even like from the time I can remember playing any sport, it was like the minute the competition came on, and it was like I want to be number one. I want to be the best.
But even in the
And
case of like this inter squad, like for you, even the inter squad was enough of a competition environment, I guess you could say, in order to get that, to flip that switch in your head.
yes, yes. Even when I struggled in the fall, in that freshman fall, like it was still like that was the most frustrating fall of my entire, like probably my entire career up until pro ball. Just because it was really my first taste of true failure, like consistent failure. Because it wasn't like I would have a good outing then have a bad outing. It was like bad outing, bad outing, bad outing, bad outing, bad outing, 4 runs, 6 runs, 2 runs, 4 runs, 3 runs. Like it was never a good one until the very, very end. And that was just kind of my little sliver of hope that, it's like, okay, it's still worth, putting that extra effort in because this isn't a lost cause. Like this is my dream. Like this is what I want to pursue. So go for it. Do it. What do you got to lose at this point? You already showed them how you can suck. So let's show them how you can do well.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's just, this is a really interesting topic because, with all three of us being coaches, I think we can all attest to, and honestly, probably a lot of the coaches listening, we can all attest to the fact that not every kid has that, but I feel like it's becoming increasingly more obvious and more difficult to try to pull some of these kids up into that level where they can start to learn to develop that switch. I feel like just a lot of these younger athletes are they're stuck in themselves, so to speak. Like they can't get out of their head. And I mean, I think there's a lot of societal factors that play a role in that, such as you're not allowed to fail in society today as a kid. You're not allowed to. Like everything is just super strict, verbatim. Like everything is like clockwork for kids. They don't know how to fail anymore, but that's part of the developmental phase. I don't know. I mean, y'all as coaches, I mean, do you see that? Like, do y'all feel that way?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, John. I mean, so Wyatt, this might be new to you, but but John and I are very familiar with this. And, part of the process of how we condition athletes, regardless of what the sport is to get them to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And, get them to fail. And
Yeah.
there is going to be a failure of some sort every single day. Now, not failure in the sense that a weight's going to crash down on them. I don't mean that. I just mean, but they're going to hit a point where they fail. And so that's not the same as quitting. I think one of our early podcasts, John, was on failure.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Quit.
And like, I know you've heard me in the gym yell at people about that, Wyatt. I mean, I've yelled that all the time. Like, this is a place to fail, and I think the gym's a good spot for that. So, like, with that said, like kind of circling back to the beginning, of your kind of development and your experiences in travel ball and things like that. I mean, were you put in those positions that helped develop those types of characteristics where, yeah, of course, maybe at 12, you weren't just the gamer, like you're 12,
Yeah.
but like, were you put in those types of positions, and how important do you think that is for kids these days?
I agree. It's definitely a atmosphere that you're put in. I luckily had a grandfather and a father that really instilled, like, no matter how much you fail, like keep getting up, keep going back at them. Like one of the biggest things my dad said that I'll never forget, and I still live to by this day. Whatever you pursue, want to be the best at it, no matter what. Said, I don't care if you want to pursue ballet. Doesn't matter. If
It's
you want to
acceptable
pursue,
today.
whatever it is, it doesn't matter. He was like, just want to be the best. He's like, that's my only rule. He's like, anything that you say, hey, Dad, I want to play this, my only rule is be the best at it. And he said, I don't say that selfishly, and I don't say that, to beat up other kids or whatever it is. I say that because I want you to be the best. I want you to have a true passion for it and go for it and know that nothing's worth doing unless you want to be the best at it. And he kind of instilled that early on, and that was just kind of that competition side of me that really flared up. Mm-hmm. And then my grandfather, who has passed away now, but he, gotta love him. We called him Pawpaw. Everybody called him Pawpaw. It didn't matter if you were like 4 years old or you were 64 years old. You called him Pawpaw. But he had a lot of, his name was Phil. He had a lot of these philosophies that we called him. And one of them that he always said to me after I had a crappy game during travel ball, it was, boy, if you're playing like crap, you got to wipe it and flush. You can't sit there and smell your own crap.
It is the most Mississippi thing ever.
It was, I don't know why it sat so well. I think it was because it was funny and it was so true.
True,
it was like,
yeah.
Stop sitting there in your own freaking feces and smelling that crap that's in the past. Like, wipe it and flush it. Get rid of it. Forget about it. And that's what you got to do with failure. You gotta wipe it and flush. Learn from it, then wipe it and flush it, because there's no more use for it if you just sit there and think about it. But I think those two things really helped me grow going through travel ball and things like that when I was younger, because I was never, which you've seen me, John, I'm not a big dude by no means, not tall. I'm slightly thick, but I wouldn't say that I'm jacked by no means. But I was always pretty underdeveloped as far as size goes growing up. Everybody was always bigger than me. So I always had that kind of play with a chip on my shoulder. Like, you might be bigger, you might be stronger, you might be faster, but guess what? I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to do one extra rep because I want to be 1% better. Yeah. And I also had coaches that were like that, which I grew up in the old school coach era where, yelling and pointing and, making you run your freaking butt off was a normal thing. Run till you puke, or, punishment till puke, or whatever it was. They don't make those anymore. Like, those aren't, you don't see that often anymore. Like, and I'm not saying that is the only way, of course, because there's other ways to get better, but it kind of makes you build a respect for, the hard work that you're putting in, even if it is punishment. Like, okay, it's worth it. Like, I'm literally puking my guts out because I made a mistake for the 8th time in a row, and now I'm seeing the punishment for it. I'm seeing the consequences from it. And that's kind of, in my view, how failure works is you're going to fail and there's going to be a consequence, no matter what. It might not even be a noticeable consequence, but there's going to be one. And it could just be, you feel bad. Like, oh, I failed. I feel bad about it. Well, guess what? Get over it. Get back up. Go on to the next thing. Or it could be something as you failed and you lost the whole game for the team. Like, that's a pretty hard burden to carry at a young age, especially. Like, 12-year-old striking out to end the game when there's a man on third and you were ahead on a 3-0 count, whatever. Like, that's hard to handle, but you got to. Like, you got to get through it. And like you said, I kind of encourage those failures. I want those failures to happen. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and name names, but this last year was my first year coaching a team, like with BPA. And we went out and played in a decent sized tournament in the fall. And, we get to the championship game and we're playing a pretty high ranked, I think they were ranked like number 17 in the nation for our age group. And I start this kid because he's good and I know he's good. And he comes out and he's feeling great. First pitch, strike, great. Next pitch, ball, 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 4, walk. Next guy, ground ball to our shortstop. He bobbles it, misses it. And then all of a sudden, just this snowball effect of it's either walk or error, walk or error. Next thing you know, into the first inning, there's 9 runs that were scored. Into the first. And I remember him looking at me halfway through it like, dude, are you going to come get me? Like, why are you leaving me out here to struggle like this? And I didn't tell him until afterwards, of course, but I was like, look, I didn't leave you in there because we didn't have anybody else, because we obviously put somebody else in right after you and he did well. But I left you in there because I want to see how you handle that failure. Because I know it's important to y'all at this age to win and win and win. But I think the more important part is how to handle that failure, that, getting behind and getting smacked in the mouth, because that's how life works. You're constantly getting smacked in the mouth and getting knocked down. And how to get back up from that, how to recover from that, how to get up and say, I'm okay, dust off my shoulders. We're good. All right, next day on. We're good. Let's go.
Yeah,
and
I love it.
He just, in the moment, I could tell how frustrated he was with me not coming and getting him and taking him out of the game and just letting him, lick his wounds. You know what I mean? And finally afterwards, I was able to tell him. He was like, well, I mean, that makes sense, but dude, that sucked. I was like, yeah, I know. It does.
Well, that was good for
Right,
but
right.
that's the name of the game. Like, that's how it works. And if you think that this is the only time that that's ever going to happen is in baseball, if you think it's not going to happen to you in life, you're wrong, dude. Like, there's going to be something bad that happens all the time. I'm not saying that you're going to have bad things happen every single day and your life is going to be terrible. No. I will say that there's always going to be struggle, though.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be something.
Yeah.
And these people that you see on this, and this is my opinion, okay? You can say what you want, but social media is ruining this generation.
Oh, facts.
Because they're just painting this picture of everybody's got this perfect
perfection.
little life and these little squares and all this stuff. And nobody realizes that family that's showing you this perfect little family, I've got my 2 kids and, my dog and, this perfect little, picket fence family, is really struggling with, dad's got cancer, blah, 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 blah. They're crippling in debt and blah, whatever it is. Everybody has their story. And this is something my mom always told me, but don't judge anybody because you don't know what they're going through. No matter what they look like, whether they, are homeless on the side of the road or they're living in this huge mansion outside of the city that, is on 100 acres and blah, 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 and they've got all this going on. Don't judge them. Don't say they got it better or they got it worse, because who knows?
Yeah. The
You
things
never
you're
know.
talking about, like, I mean, the value systems here, I mean, that's important. I mean, it's huge. And I agree with you. Chris probably agree too. Like, social media is destroying our kids. And like, that's something that, maybe in the beginning of your career, you had to deal with a little bit, but not nowhere to the scale that we're dealing with now. But like, I'm taking that, I'm circling back with all this. Like, we talk about your development and how these things helped get you to the level you played at. Like, you had, the family system behind you, you had good coaches, you had that mentality. And I think all that and I think the mentality part of that, social media plays a big role in that too. So like, you had all these different things, behind you and working for you to help you kind of build to get to that level. I want to touch on kind of the physical element of it a little bit as well. Like, what were kind of walk me through a little bit, I guess, particularly kind of in the high school side of stuff, like kind of when you start approaching the gym, like I know you're probably doing lessons and, throwing programs and things like that growing up, but, when you really start hitting the training side of it, how did you approach that? What were some things you felt in the beginning that worked for you? Some things that maybe could have been done differently? And let's go down that road a little bit, particularly digging into college and pro as well as we talk about.
I didn't really get into working out until I was about 15 or 16.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like I was still in that era of, pitchers shouldn't work out. If they do work out, blow up the legs, and that was it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I'm well aware because I took a ton of shit and heat from people your generation in the area. Oh yeah.
well, I don't believe that. I'm still a believer in, work out the full body no matter what. But anyways, don't want to get off track here. I didn't start until about 15, 16, and it wasn't really until I got my first offer in college. And that was when it kind of sparked in my head, like, oh, geez, like I could actually go play college. Like, okay, cool. Maybe I need to start putting in this extra work. So my parents got me a gym membership to the DAC, which if you're familiar with the South Haven area, DAC's a pretty big gym. So started doing that, and then coincidentally, we also got a swim team my junior year in high school, and our baseball coach made us be on the swim team.
That's interesting.
To get extra conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay. I don't know if I've heard that one before.
Swim is don't bash swim, because holy crap, that's one of the hardest workouts I've ever had.
Oh yeah.
I bet.
I'm not even kidding. Swimming laps.
We got a couple swimmers here. Yeah.
It was, oh my gosh.
So I mean, you started high school at kind of the basic bodybuilding style, commercial type of gym stuff. I'm gathering. Yeah.
And why I went into the swim thing was because that kind of made me start my early morning workouts. Because we had swim practice was at 4:30 in the morning at the DAC, because that was the only swimming pool near us that had a decent size. But right after swim practice, I'd go straight to the gym, do it was probably hour to hour and a half workout, very basic, stick to squats, bench press, a lot of machine work. Like I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, your isolation bodybuilding stuff. Yeah,
I had no guidance either.
Sure.
It was just like what my brother said to do or what my friend said to do. This was before YouTube was so huge. So very basic workouts.
Did you notice an improvement in performance when you started doing that, or did you not at all? What was your initial impression of working out and how it applied to pitching?
I just thought the stronger I got, the harder I would throw, which is, in my opinion, a false thought.
I'm glad you said that, because I was getting ready to ask you if that's your belief now.
All right. That's where I was going to.
I think that the more I worked out, the more I realized that it was more so for maintenance, really. Strength was great, and it did help me, throw the ball hard consistently. That's what I will say. Like in high school, like I said, I topped out at 94 in high school. But I sat usually like 88 to 90, 92-ish. Mm-hmm. Before I started working out, I fluctuated a lot. Like I would hit like 82 one pitch, and then I'd hit like 88 the next pitch. And then back down to 84, and then 89. It was like very fluctuating.
So you attribute your strength, just building this relative strength up, is something that helps stabilize that.
Yeah, it helped me go from being like 82 to freaking 90, an 8 mile an hour difference with my fastball, to when I got to my senior year, I was more so 88 to 90, 91, like consistently. Like I didn't really fluctuate down or above or anything like that. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought my strength, like building my strength, was help me maintain. But it wasn't when I really hit the gym until I got my offer from Ole Miss. And they were like, hey, we want you at 180 when you get here. And I need to show you a picture, John, when I see you again. But when I was a senior in high school, I graduated at 140 pounds. And
oh, shoot.
Do you know what I look like? And I'm not 140 pounds anymore. I'm about 195. And yeah. But so they're like, yeah, we need you at 180 if you're going to come here.
Okay, so let's hit that real quick, because one of the things you hear a lot with pitching is, I hear it constantly. It's never ending. Got to put weight on. Got to put weight on. You want to throw harder, you got to put weight on. Thoughts on that?
I think it's to prevent injury. I think that's what their thought is the heavier you are, the less likely you are. This is the saying in pro ball. Fat don't rip. So they
Pretty sure John Daly made that popular too. Like you can't pull fat. Like,
so they always said,
fat
gain
don't
weight
rip.
so you don't hurt yourself. But I mean, I have heard that fat is a natural protective layer, but not necessarily to say you need a lot of it. But I thought I gained in the right direction going into college because from the time I graduated to the time I went in my freshman fall, I had gained 20 pounds, and I thought it was a healthy 20 pounds because I stayed consistently working out, probably 3-4 times a week. This was also back in my running days. I ran a ton, which was, looking back, I probably would have gained the full 40 pounds if I didn't run.
So you're talking about the fall side right here, because this is where you start really climbing up, isn't it? Or no, you said in high school you were already hitting 94 and stuff. Yeah, I think I misunderstood you. Yeah, okay. So I mean, you started climbing as you got stronger, clearly. No doubt.
I stayed consistently up in the 90s.
Okay, all right. And so now you're at Ole Miss. Like, how the types of things that you did there? Did you see increases in velo? At your time at Ole Miss, did you see changes in your consistency? Like, how did the work that you did at a super high level Division I baseball program influence the pitching?
I didn't see increases in velo until my junior year, and I think that had a lot to do with my intent behind my throwing. Because when I got to college, especially freshman year, it was just kind of survive, make the team. Because our strength guy, Strength Ben, he was more military style. Like, he was all about toughness. That's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was like, how much can you do without passing out? Like, that's how it was. It really was. And
so then at Ole Miss, then what, okay, you kind of explained what you did in high school. So that what you were doing from, at the gym and machines, squats, bench press, but what was the difference then in the type of workout you did from there to college? And, and then, we can kind of relate the type of workout to your increased velocity.
Okay,
maybe.
It was a lot more organized. He was still a believer in, core and legs for pitchers. And we blew up core and legs. So we did a ton of core work, a ton of squats. Front squats was really, really popular. And I think it's still really popular. But big front squat guy, that's almost all we ever did really with our squats. We never really back squatted much.
Well, for a pitcher, that's smart.
And then upper body, we stayed with scaps, traps, and shoulders. That's really about it. We didn't do a ton of triceps. We didn't do a ton of biceps. We didn't really do any type of chest. It was like, if we did, it was very minimal and very low weight. Like, I don't remember benching more than 185 in college. And I think that was literally just for competition.
So, all right. So now how did that change as you get into, the developmental leagues and, single A, double A, triple A? Because I remember you were bragging on your deadlift a couple weeks ago, I think.
That was so that was when that was in pro ball. And I didn't ever see really gains as far as my squat numbers went while I was at Ole Miss. Like, I don't think I couldn't seem to get above 300 with squats at Ole Miss for some reason. I don't know why. But
Bill, I want to stop right there. I'm going to interrupt you. Sorry. This isn't an interview. This is a conversation.
Perfect.
But like you say, what you said right there is a point that we've tried to make 1,000 times on this show, and something I always talk to our athletes about. The literature there doesn't exist, like, of saying if you squat 300 versus if you squat 315, you can move this much faster or whatever, or throw that much harder. Mm-hmm. So it's like there comes a point in time that strength doesn't manifest anymore into anything, in my opinion, And so it's like, I don't understand why so many programs continue to focus on that. You've seen how I train, see what we do. I mean, your strength work is maybe 20% of the program tops.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And you experience that.
I mean, it can help some guys a lot.
Sure, absolutely.
But it depends on the guy, like you said. But I agree. I don't think strength has, because in high school I was not strong at all. I mean, I was a $140, dude. Like,
Right.
if I was hitting 94 at a $140, like, and my squat was probably 185, not even yeah. And my form was awful. I don't think strength has much to do with it. And
By the way, I do want to say one thing, and I know John will echo this, and that is when we're referring to strength, we're referring to purely how much weight you lift, not okay. So we're not talking about I mean, you start adding a position and velocity component.
Yes.
It can have a huge carryover.
Yes, you start doing like iso extreme lunges in a loaded manner. Yes, that's a different story. We're talking about main lifts here: bench, squat, deadlift. That everybody in this industry still wants to focus on.
Correct. Yeah, without respect for any time component or whatever, pure strength, yes, has a very limited carryover. Yes, I'm sorry. Sorry about that, Wyatt. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't strong in high school. Wasn't super strong in college. I didn't really see velo jumps until 2018, 2019, which was 2 and 3 years into my pro career. And in 2019, I hit 97. That was, in my opinion, my best year. 2018, 2019 were my 2 best years. My lifts did look different, though, in the off season.
Touch on that. How so?
So I got really big into sumo deadlifts.
No kidding.
That was that was kind of our big thing in that off season was sumo deadlifts. It took the strain off the back and it really focused on those hips, it seemed like, to me at least. Which, if you're an athlete in general, everybody should know those hips are really important and producing
See,
power.
guys, this is why I like Wyatt right here. We're on the same page. Again, the amount of grief I have gotten over the years for maximizing sumo pulling and saying screw trap bar, it's been ridiculous. But anyways, keep going.
I think they like trap bar because it's safer. But
yes,
whatever. But yeah, I got big into sumo deadlifts and really into Nordic stuff, like hamstrings. That was probably one of my strongest off seasons as well, and that was which I have the video as well. I can show you later. But this was trap bar though, so I can't say it was sumo.
But you start moving into sumo, you start moving to glute hams, the areas that are truly like. Yes, I've said I'm on record. We're on 90 episodes, Chris, or something, and so
something like that.
I'm on record multiple times saying, look, if you're going to pick a lift, a sumo pull is the lift to pull. Like that's it, or the lift to do. There is ample research that supports that. Development of the hips and the glutes and things like that. Yes. That's why when we came down to the farm, that's why I brought 3 glute hams down there with us. Yes. Huge. Okay. Sorry to interrupt, but I get fired up on that topic because I think it's super important. I think too many kids are too focused on this trap bar. They're too focused on what's better, reverse lunge. I see so many freaking reverse lunges, I puke. But it's like try an iso extreme lunge, and then you'll see what actually happens. Just FYI, when you're doing a reverse lunge, you're actually recruiting the wrong muscles and making yourself slower. I don't give a shit how much you can move in that. You're actually reversing the neural patterns. So, there you go. But anyways, with that, you use some good main lifts and you build from there. I don't even know where I was going. How many times has that happened, Chris? That's happened a ton where I just totally get off topic.
Well, it
I lost
doesn't
my train of
matter.
thought. I don't even know where I was
that was
headed with that
actually
now.
we actually covered that. How the reverse lunge is is off, and then and the iso extremes, Wyatt, if you're not familiar with them at all, it's going to be one of those things I think that you will want to, and you never know, you might be going back to the pros again, That's one of those things you become.
There's some discussions, I think,
I have talked to John a couple times about helping the old shoulder, which that's we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, so
but-
because we've got about 10, 15 minutes left here. But yeah, so I mean, so what? Actually, let's talk about that. So, you know, you talk about the strength and you know, getting into some of these lifts did change a few things for you. And I think because they probably addressed some weak points. Talk about your shoulder a little bit. Is that something that happened in a game? Did that happen off season? What was going on there?
It happened in the off season. So coming off of 2022, that was my last season with the Cubs. That was the year that I went from reliever to starter at the very end. And the
That's a big
training
jump.
The training aspect was a big difference. It really was. Because you went from never knowing when you're going to throw, so you didn't know how to train necessarily to stay ready, to all of a sudden I have a specific day that I know I'm going to throw every single week. So guess what? I can build myself to get ready for that day. And so it made training so much easier. Like my workouts were just cleaner, better. I knew when to lift heavy. I knew not when to lift heavy. It was so much better as a starter. For you relievers out there, don't listen to anybody. Starting is the way to go. But the training changed a lot, which also helped me I feel like helped with my success as a starter as well. But anyways, shoulder problem happened after the 2022 season. I was throwing, playing catch, and all of a sudden I had a baby in December, and it kind of put me on the sideline for 6 weeks because, well, sleep and you know how it is. But I go into this tryout in January, not having picked up a baseball in like 6 weeks, and I start trying to throw at 100%. And when I do that, of course, something happens in my shoulder. I come back the next day, I throw again, and I can barely lift my arm. Like, it was awful. Just felt this super sharp pain, like almost somebody stabbing me in the front of my shoulder. I give it 2 days, rest completely. Come back the next day, feels a smidge better, not a lot, but that weekend I had to be ready, go to Arizona and make this tryout. So long story short, I did exactly what I tell all of my lessons and everybody that I've ever coached not to do. I did that. So I did not, I built, and then I took 6 weeks off, and then I went back like I never stopped. And that was where I hurt my shoulder. All because I was trying to make a tryout so I could make a team, and little did I know, I think I might have ruined my career. So that happened.
I mean, it just stresses the importance of preparation.
Right. I was about to use that exact same word.
Yeah, because I think a lot of, we live in a society right now. It's very unfortunate what's happening to the kids, and the fact that like you can't play multiple sports, really anymore. And I mean, the ones that do are just absolutely just max capacity for their time. I mean, there's no life, and that's unfortunate. But it also leads way to kind of that scenario right there, where it's like some of these kids, they just the time put in for the development and the preparation it's not there.
Right. De-prepared. It's almost like not even deconditioned. Almost doesn't even do it justice. It's you've lost your preparation. You've gone from prepared to unprepared, and that's I like that word better.
Mm-hmm. So I want to wrap this up. There's a lot of gems in this. There's a lot of great like advice for even coaches. Like if you're a young coach, like I know the amount of young coaches that reach out to me about stuff and want to know how I do things. I think there's a lot of gems you can take away from this. Some of you athletes, some of my pitchers who listen to this, listen to what Wyatt's saying. I mean, Wyatt had one of the filthiest changeups I think you'll ever see. If you don't believe me, go look at it. It's gross. But with that, like as we kind of wrap this up, Wyatt, like what? I'm going to put you on the spot. One piece of advice, like give these kids and coaches, I guess, a piece of advice. Because, I mean, you made it to basically the highest level for the most part. So you've experienced a lot. What's something that they can take away?
Consistency. Consistency is key. If you ask me, I think that's kind of like what you said earlier, Chris, about being prepared. I prepared myself all the way up until that one point, and then I stopped. So it unprepared me, right? So if I would have just stayed consistent, I think I would have been fine. And I honestly, to this day, I think I'd still be playing. Not saying that I couldn't fix my shoulder and, go back and keep playing, but stay consistent. Be consistent in the gym. Be consistent in your eating habits. Be consistent in, if you're a mental warrior, what I mean by that is if you're one of those guys that you think so much and get in your own head, consistently tell yourself good things, not bad things. But stay consistent. You stay consistent, you're gonna succeed. Consistently good, that is.
It's good advice. It's just,
Yes.
I don't disagree. We use the phrase, just win the day, win each day, and just stay consistent with it, because motivation's fleeting and you just got to be disciplined. That's good stuff, man. Yeah, well, this has been fun, man. Your story's super interesting, and I wish we had more time because there's so much else I'd like to cover, but maybe we'll be able to do this again and and kind of dig into some more details type stuff. I guess today's kind of an intro episode, introducing Wyatt to the audience. Yeah, man,
Appreciate it.
It's been great to have you.
Has been, absolutely.
It's a pleasure working with you. I know we're working on some big things down there, and I know we just trash social media, but if people want to follow you, where can they find you?
So Instagram, it's at it's your boy Wyatt, BOI Wyatt. Yeah, I know it's gay, but whatever. Can't say that.
On our show, you can. It's fine.
But I will say this on that side note of social media: there's good and bad that comes with it. There's great things that come from it, but there's also a lot of bad things. Stay with the good, get out of the bad. But yes, at it's your boy Wyatt. I'm the same on Twitter, or sorry, X now. I have a TikTok, but I don't really get on there, so that doesn't matter.
Cool. Well, man, I appreciate your time as always. I think you gave a lot of valuable advice for some of these coaches and athletes. So, guys, I hope you take that and apply it. And go to YouTube and take a look at that change up. It's pretty nasty.
Thank you, Wyatt. Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate it. Thank
Appreciate
y'all
you,
for the
brother.
time.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's the show. Share it.